Hi there, I'm Amanda Casper with Material Girl Quilts. Today I'm here to show you how to make this striking Ombré Chevron quilt. Now last summer during our family vacation to Lake Michigan, I found a cute little quilt shop that of course I had to check out. And while I was there, I decided to purchase some V & Company ombre fabric. I didn't have a particular project in mind at the time, but I decided to go ahead and get 1 yard each of my 5 favorite colors. Now these fabrics have been sitting in my office since that day, waiting for me to turn them into something fun. So after numerous ideas and sketches, I finally decided on this design. Now I would have preferred that it be a longer quilt, however this was as large as I can make it, the size I can make it with the amount of fabric that I had on hand. Now if you aren't familiar with ombre fabrics, as you can see from my yellow scraps, this is the fabric, the color I had the most left over of. But these ombre fabrics, they go from dark at the end of the width of fabric to light shades of the same color, and then they go back to dark again at the opposite end of the width of fabric. Now Vanessa Christensen of V & Company, she's perfected these ombre designs, and she designs for Moda Fabrics, and she has multiple different variations. Now as you can tell, the variation I chose has some metallic and darker shade dots of the same color throughout, and they're denser in the darker shade, and then they're thinner as you get to the lighter color. And I have a link in the video description that shows you some other variations of this ombre fabric. Now to make this quilt, you'll be creating some half square triangles, and the remaining blocks are just simple squares. So as a reminder, if you're a member of Material Girl Society, you'll have access to the PDF pattern for this quilt and any other project as it's released. And if you aren't a member, make sure you head to my website, materialgirlquilts.com, click on the membership at the top navigation tab to learn more. So let's get started. Now you will start by creating your half square triangles. So we will take one 4.5 inch square of fabric 1, which is the orange here on my quilt, and then one 4.5 inch square of fabric 2, which is the teal. You will place them right sides together, and then you will draw a line on one diagonal, and then you'll sew a 1/4 inch seam on either side of that drawn line. Now once you have sewn on either side of the line, you will then cut apart directly on that line to create 2 half square triangles. Now the pattern tells you how many half square triangles you will need of each fabric pairing. So in other words, it'll tell you how many fabric 1 and 2 half square triangles you'll need, how many 2 and 3, and how many 3 and 4, and so on. Now as a side note, I wanted to point out that I decided to pair the darkest squares of my top fabric, or my first fabric, with the lightest squares of my second fabric. So in other words, the darkest of fabric 1 and the lightest of fabric 2. And so when I did that, then that made the half square triangles and the bottom of my chevron stripes a bit darker than the tops of my straps. So if you like that look, that's how I did that. So once you have all of your half square triangles pieced, then you'll lay them out with your squares into the chevron design. You will then sew them into rows, and then sew the rows together to complete your quilt top. This quilt finishes at 63 inches square, using just a 1 yard of 5 different fabrics. Now if you would like yours to be longer, I'd suggest getting 1.5 yards of each color. This quilt was really fun to make, and watch it evolve as I cut into each new color. It's a great pattern for beginners, but truly for any experience level quilter who wants to play with color. I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, please make sure you click the like button and subscribe so that you don't miss any tutorials going forward. Thank you so much for watching, and see you next time.